I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the October 2021 Rainbow District School Board meeting. Please be advised that this meeting is being live streamed and will be archived. The Rainbow District School Board would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Anishinaabe, including Atikameksheng, Anishinaabe, and Wahnapitae nations. We would like to acknowledge that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850, and we want to recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabe that maintained these lands from time immemorial. I'd like to begin by calling on Director Bourget for the roll call, please.
Trustee Dubosky. Trustee St. Jean.
Present.
Trustee Gibson. I see Trustee Gibson online.
I see Trustee Gibson is present, but we don't hear her.
I'm going to mark Trustee Gibson as present at this time. I do see her online. Trustee Cosmerly.
Present.
Trustee Morrison.
Present.
Trustee Dewar. Trustee Honda.
Present.
Present.
Trustee Stringer.
Present.
Trustee Clement.
Present.
Student Trustee Yao.
Present.
And I'll just check back one more time with Trustee Dubosky.
Thank
Over to you,
very
Madam Chair.
much. Approval of agenda, motion that the agenda for the regular board meeting of October 26, 2021 be approved. Moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement.
In favor?
Trustee Dewar.
In favor?
Trustee Gibson. See Trustee Gibson has raised a hand. I'll take that as an in favor. I think she's thumbs up. Thank you, Trustee Gibson. Trustee Honda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean.
In favor.
Trustee Stringer.
In favor.
Trustee Yao.
In favor.
All present in favor.
Thank you very much. The motion's carried. Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. We'll move on to the presentation, and we have quite an enthusiastic group, which I've had the pleasure of visiting on a monthly basis for the past little while. I'm going to call on Superintendent Noble to take over. Or did you want to say a few words, Director Bourget?
I will leave that in Superintendent Noble's very capable hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Good evening. It's a privilege to share with you the Rainbow District School Board Action Plan this evening. This plan has been 2 years in the making. Since the Rainbow District School Board declared a climate change emergency and committed to developing a plan to combat climate change. Members of the Environmental Education Committee are here tonight to share the Climate Change Action Plan. Let me introduce them to you. Corey Davey, teacher at Central Manitoulin Public School. David Witchar, principal at Manitoulin Secondary School. Jocelyn Kunze, student senator at Manitoulin Secondary School. Hazel Fox Recollet, Indigenous support worker. And Susan Kett, principal at Barrydown College. Trustees have received a copy of the Climate Change Action Plan as part of their backup for tonight's meeting. At this point, I would like to turn the presentation over to Principal Kett.
Thank you, Superintendent Noble. Good evening, Ani, bonjour. The Environmental Education Committee is comprised of Rainbow District School Board trustees, staff, and students, as well as outside community partners. Our diverse team has worked collaboratively over the past 2 years in the creation of the Rainbow District School Board Climate Change Action Plan. We have 5 guiding principles for the Climate Change Action Plan. Number 1, promotion of global stewardship through EcoSchools Canada certification actions and practices. Number 2, inclusion of Indigenous perspectives. We acknowledge that the only way forward is together, using a layered approach, removing the silos, being inclusive of language and culture, and honoring traditional ways of caring for Shikakamukwe, Mother Earth. Thirdly, evidence-based and data-driven initiatives. The collection and monitoring of data is at the core of EcoSchools initiatives and eco-actions such as waste minimization and energy conservation. Number 4, supporting educators with knowledge and resources. This is ongoing. The EcoSchools Canada website is a rich source of resources and ideas. We also have experienced Rainbow EcoSchool mentors who work with schools that are new to the program. Prior to the pandemic, annual EcoSchools professional development was also offered to EcoSchool leads in our board. Number 5, working closely with partners. This is evident in the composition of the board's Environmental Education Committee and the many partnerships that individual schools have forged through their EcoSchools actions. Here are the goals of the Climate Change Action Plan. Number 1, to have all Rainbow Schools EcoSchools Canada certified by 2022. Number 2, to raise student, educator, staff, and parent awareness of environmentally responsible practices. 3, embed eco-policies within the board's strategic planning, supporting sustainability. Number 4, establish environmental leadership groups to empower others to act as responsible environmental citizens. Rainbow District School Board's declaration of a climate change emergency drew the attention of EcoSchools Canada. The information on this slide is from the EcoSchools Canada website. By realizing our goal of 100% of our schools certified as EcoSchools, Rainbow District School Board will join 6 other Ontario school boards with this distinction. EcoSchools Canada provides us with benchmarks for environmental learning and action in Canada. The certification standards align directly with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The EcoSchools program becomes an even more effective tool with that much more of an impact when boards work together with their schools to take a collective approach to environmental learning and climate action. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce Hazel Fox Recollet, to speak to the important Indigenous education components that are embedded throughout our Climate Action Plan.
Miigwech, Principal Ket. Ani Kinawiya, hello everybody. And Ani Ekonomake Wen Yigan Zijik, our education leaders. The slide I'm going to present is Gitche Pitenma na Shikakemekwe. We have great value for Mother Earth. Truth and reconciliation for the Rainbow District School Board involves a responsibility to learn and cherish the stories and knowledge of Indigenous nations throughout Canada for the benefit of all students. Through an Indigenous Anishinaabe perspective, we have the opportunity to experience and understand profound customs and teachings to place a greater value on the protection of our planet, our home, Mother Earth, Shikakemekwe. Through shared commitment and meaningful collaboration with Indigenous communities, we have a greater ability to strengthen our climate action plan for Rainbow schools and families. The United Movement for Beneficial Human Activity will help recover and sustain our relationship to the land, water, air, and fire, and contribute toward efficiently reducing the adverse human activity that is resulting in climate change. Nahamigwech. At this time, I would like to take this or extend my appreciation for an Indigenous voice on the Environmental Committee. As an Anishinaabe Kwe, I am grateful of the commitment toward ecological responsibility in order to protect our planet, Shikakemekwe. At the same time, I am grateful for the opportunity to help create awareness about the right for all people and all our relations to enjoy a clean and healthy environment. During the planning of our Eco Monthly Challenges, I am able to reflect on the voice of Indigenous peoples through ongoing research of relevant learning materials such as the Natural Curiosity, first and second edition, teacher resource, which shares the importance of Indigenous perspectives in children's environmental inquiry. There are also Indigenous initiatives that collectively address environmental issues, such as the Elder Youth Gathering on Climate Change, hosted by the Chiefs of Ontario prior to the pandemic. Oh, sorry about that. I apologize. From an Indigenous perspective, it has been wonderful to share a way of life through storytelling and traditional teachings of the Anishinaabe people to help promote a relationship with all of creation. We also include relevant Anishinaabe to reinforce appropriate action to support the environmental focus of the month or for that month. For example, Gegwa Wigeton, don't waste something shamefully. And in turn, we would encourage recycled clothing. Ekoni Jing Gwinan. As a result of the education awareness, the Indigenous education team is invited to visit classrooms to further share the Anishinaabe perspective. Some examples of these requests are like gifts from nature at Alexander Public School, the significance of the change of season at RLBD, and the teachings of the medicine wheel at Sudbury Secondary School. And the list goes on. Although our young people may be aware of the growing concerns about the environmental realities in the world, I know we are doing our best to inspire children and youth about what our realities can be or what they once were before this time of global warming and climate change. Naha, Chimigwech. Now, I'll pass over the podium back to Principal Ket.
Chimigwech Hazel. As a school board district, participation in the Eco Schools program can result in lower energy outputs from school buildings and offer a regional network for sharing resources between schools. A 2017 study found that if all non-certified schools in Ontario alone performed as well as eco schools, overall greenhouse gases would be reduced by an estimated 64,800 tons. We have an opportunity, therefore, to lead by example. By having all of our schools EcoSchool certified, we will save 916 tons of CO2 emissions in this school year alone. The EcoSchools Canada mission statement is to nurture student leaders, reduce the environmental impact of schools, and build sustainable school communities. The EcoSchools Canada vision: every school an eco school. From individual behaviors to collective impact, all members of a school community are empowered with the knowledge, skills, perspectives, and desire to act as environmentally responsible citizens. What are the steps necessary for certifying as an eco school? We start with connect. Building your school eco team, ensuring that your team includes a wide range of stakeholders from your school and the broader school community. Next, review. Conduct your initial eco reviews of your school to determine what and where the needs for improvement are. Then, plan. From the results of your eco reviews, determine your plan for eco actions for the school year. Work with your eco team to brainstorm. Allow the ideas, creativity, and passion of our young eco leaders guide the way. Next, engage. Educate, promote, and invite your school community to get involved. Classes, grades, full school. Extend your eco actions into the surrounding community. Then, reflect. Measure and reflect on your actions. Are they making a difference? What more can be done? Finally, celebrate. Take the time to acknowledge your success. EcoSchools Canada certification levels are awarded at the end of the school year based on certification standards. The 7 pillars of Ontario EcoSchools have evolved into the following action planning areas of the EcoSchools Canada program in order to further align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The areas for schools to plan their actions within are getting to know your EcoSchool, school energy exploration, waste minimization, pollinator garden and tree planting and maintenance, environmental literacy and young reporters for the environment, professional development, and sustainable transportation. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce Corey Davey to share more details about the Rainbow District School Board Climate Change Action Plan.
The Environmental Education Committee has been developing a climate action plan for the Rainbow District School Board over the past 2 years. Input and recommendations from various stakeholders, along with the EcoSchools actions, have been incorporated into the plan. The action plan encompasses Indigenous perspectives, current board initiatives, monthly environmental challenges, EcoSchools actions, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Schools have developed eco teams consisting of students and staff from multiple grades. Each month, these eco teams promote the board's monthly challenges within their schools. Indigenous education, language, and culture are incorporated into the monthly actions to increase awareness of the importance to respect planet Earth and connect to the land. In addition to our monthly challenges, eco teams are able to select further actions for their school to complete in order to earn extra points towards their certification. To help work towards the United Nations goal of affordable and clean energy, the board's facilities department has been working to convert light bulbs in all buildings to the more energy-efficient LED lights. Older boilers used for heating are being replaced with efficient propane and gas boilers. At the school level, eco teams are turning down the heat and wearing sweaters, turning off lights and devices when not needed, and calculating their energy footprint to make future plans for reduction of harmful emissions resulting from energy consumption. This month, our schools participated in Waste Reduction Week. Some of the activities included a community cleanup, plastic-free day, a waste audit, and litterless lunch day. Over the last couple of years, schools have been establishing composting programs with community partners to help divert lunch waste from landfills. Eco teams take time to educate and demonstrate the impact of litterless lunches to students, showing how our daily choices can help reduce our waste and make a difference locally. By preparing your own Jell-O at home, you can eliminate 8 plastic containers from the waste stream, leaving you only a piece of cardboard and paper to recycle. To help stop the decline of bees and butterflies, last year our schools were provided with a variety of seeds to create a pollinator garden. This year, schools will continue to expand their gardens with a seed swap in the new year. We will share the Indigenous farmers' knowledge of the 3 sisters, corn, beans, and squash, with our schools through the monthly challenge. Schools are deepening environmental literacy by providing opportunities for all students to learn outside, educating students about climate change concerns, and taking on equity projects to help others around them. Part of October's monthly challenge was to divert textile waste by donating used clothing for redistribution to others. According to the United Nations, the human right to water entitles everyone to sufficient, safe, acceptable, physically accessible, and affordable water for personal and domestic uses. In September, the Rainbow Board invited schools to join in a day of walking for the water. For thousands of years, Indigenous people of Canada have held the water as a sacred gift to be cherished. By sharing the Indigenous practice of honoring and giving thanks to our lakes, the Water Walk is an invitation to pause and reflect upon what we can do individually and collectively to ensure the health and well-being of our waters for generations to come. Here are some wonderful photos from a water walk with Miss Lonsdale's Grade 2 class at Walden Public School. The United Nations and eco-schools have recognized that we may be exposed to many different environmental hazards that pose a risk to health and well-being in our daily lives, such as air pollution, chemicals, and extreme heat. Being informed and taking action can help prevent illnesses among our families. Connecting to nature outdoors helps you to slow down, awaken your senses, and learn more about yourself, uplifting your mental, emotional, and physical health. This time allows us to deepen our relationship with nature and reflect upon our role in reconciliation. The teachings of the Medicine Wheel will support building relationships with the planet Earth. Schools are using outdoor classrooms and land-based learning to connect students to the land through actions such as Take Me Outside Day and creating sit spots in the schoolyard. Our schools run eco-school campaigns to encourage low-carbon transportation options such as walking, cycling, busing, and carpooling. At drop-off and pickup locations, many schools have put idle-free zones in place as past actions for eco-schools. As well, schools have purchased bike racks to encourage cycling to school for students and staff to reduce air pollution. The Eco-School survey on mode of transportation and distance for each student in a school helps to calculate air emissions and gives a baseline for possible school-based actions. In the future, as the board's fleet of vehicle reaches their lifespan, the option of replacement with electric vehicles could be considered to help reduce carbon emissions. At this point, please welcome Principal Wichar and Manitoulin Student Senator Jocelyn Kunze.
It's my pleasure to share what is happening this fall at Manitoulin Secondary School in Eco Schools. At the PA Day yesterday, we heard of a mass recycling bin going in near the main office. You will see pictures of our school beekeeping program, trail cleanups, a battery recycling drive, and water walk. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so let's begin. At Manitoulin Secondary School, students have long been involved in environmental initiatives through the Share Go Green Committee. It has been running as far back as 2005, when students were joining humanitarian trips to Costa Rica and installing solar panels with those LED lights that we just heard about. Back then, the efficiency of LED lights, but small $60 panels, run a couple of lamps in homes where families were living by candles or fuel lamps. We used to tell students back then that one day they would get to see those LED lights reach their schools, and now they have. The Share Go Green Committee continues to do great things at Manitoulin Secondary School, as you will hear from our student representative, Jocelyn Kunze, who also sits on the Student Senate. Jocelyn?
Thanks, Mr. Wichar. So as you can see from these pictures, these are just some of our school beehives. We got them a couple years ago in 2018, and they've been pretty successful so far. The last extraction in early October, we got about 60 kilograms of honey from the hives alone, so quite a lot. This is both sold as a fundraiser, and it's also given as gifts to students who are involved in the honey extraction process. I've actually gotten 2 hives of my own, but did most of my learning about bees at school with Mr. Beck, so it definitely has made an impact on my life. And since then, my hives have also flourished. The MSS program started with a couple students who were worried about the decrease in bee population and has grown into a staple for the agriculture SHISM students. Students have the opportunity to check in on the hives and observe the processes while ensuring the bees are still healthy. And so this is just a couple pictures of our bee inspections since 2018. So this is the honey extraction process. And so while bee inspections are done throughout the year by agriculture SHISM and Share Go Green students, the extraction process actually fits in with a couple of the curriculum in different classes. So this year we did it with my 4U Earth and Space class. Although I have done it before, I did get to try out some new processes, and I learned how to properly uncap, which is, in my opinion, the hardest process in beekeeping. And that's where you remove the cap from each of the frames. You can see them in the pictures there. And so these are just some pictures from MSS hives this year. We have added about 2 to 3 supers to each hive, which is like the big boxes, which means that the production is good and that the bees are healthy. The local farmers and gardeners are also really grateful for this initiative. The MSS apiary is a really unique way to learn about pollinators and promote healthy ecosystems to students who may not exactly be interested in other sorts of eco actions. At the start of the year, I went for a walk down the Waterside Trail near our school and was absolutely horrified by the amount of waste on the ground stretched for hundreds of meters. You can see that in the picture there. Within 2 weeks, I was able to gather a team of about 15 students, grades 9 to 12, and we spent 2 hours after school cleaning it all up. And it was super successful. The trails looked much better. And instead of continuing to deteriorate and make our water and soil more toxic, the garbage that had probably been there for years has now been recycled or properly disposed of. The clean trails definitely make the school environment feel safer, and I know a lot more students have been using them since. As a bonus, they're still clean. So for years, ShareGo Green, in partnership with Manitoulin Metal, which is our robotics team, has hosted a battery drive so Manitoulin residents can properly dispose of their batteries. In 2019, we collected over 1,200 batteries. This year, we collected over 4,200 batteries. We recycle them through a company called Call to Recycle. Not only does recycling batteries keep toxic waste out of landfills, but through a company called Tech, the value of zinc recycled is donated to UNICEF programs for children with zinc deficiencies. It's estimated that every AA dead battery has enough value of zinc to save the lives of 6 children. So our 4,200 batteries right now are helping 25,200 children worldwide. As of October 2021, MSS is also a Call to Recycle center as well. So this means that we can collect batteries all year round from the school and the greater community. On September 22nd, MSS classes also participated in the Water Walk. We had an opening ceremony in the morning led by Sunset Sagich, who is one of our Aboriginal support workers. At the ceremony, we collected water from Lake Huron in a copper vessel to pass between classes as we continued the relay throughout the day. Most classes participated by carrying the water and then passing it on to the next group, keeping the water always moving. We also distributed an informational handout to teachers, and individuals were encouraged to honor the water and show appreciation in their own way while participating in the walk. At the end of the day, myself and a few other students returned the water to its source and said a final thanks.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It is such a privilege to have clean water across the street from our school and to be able to enjoy the beautiful views of the escarpment across the bay. We do see the occasional fishing pole in the hands of students riding our buses and know that their enjoyment of the outdoors strengthens our students' interest in protecting the environment. We have a goal of having all of our Rainbow schools certified as eco schools, and toward that end, we're very pleased to say that all have registered at this point and have set that goal by going online. So to date, 43 schools, or 100%, have registered. And so where we are at as a board, if you look back in history over the past 11 years, you can see back in 2011 when we just had a couple of schools trying out the Eco Schools program. 2012, building on up each year. We had a little bit of a dip in 2021. COVID prevented us from being able to recycle and compost and hold the multi-grade meetings that an eco team requires. But we're quite pleased again this year to have 43 schools with active plans ready to attempt to certify this year, 100% of Rainbow schools. Now, if we look at the number of schools that are attempting certification, we have, you can see 3/4 of them in elementary, and we have in the purple color, the secondary schools representing nearly 1/4. We also can see on the right-hand side what type of certification schools are headed for. So you can see that nearly half of our schools are trying for platinum, which is a wonderful achievement. On the next slide, you can see that to get to platinum, you need to score a gold standard of 75 to 100 total points. And then on top of that, engage in 2 mandatory actions around environmental literacy and getting started to achieve platinum. We have an impact kind of graphic that's sent to us annually in the spring from Eco Schools, and I thought to share this part with you. This annual report shows that in spite of COVID preventing much of what we usually get to do toward Eco Schools in a year, we see that 35% of our schools are maturing into certifying for 5+ years. And that this year particularly, we were able to have 10,076 hours of outdoor learning enjoyed by our students. 20 trees were planted, and we can see the 190 actions as well. We now get to hear from Superintendent Judy Noble on our board-wide initiatives.
Thank you, Principal Witcher. Although facilities does not fall under the mandate of Environmental Education Committee, it should be noted that all improvements to facilities have supported the climate change mandate within the board's strategic planning process. These improvements are reducing our collective carbon footprint by implementing systems that are more energy efficient and by fostering a culture of sustainability in Rainbow schools. Water bottle filling stations reduce water consumption and single-use plastics. 17 schools received new stations in 2021. Adamsdale, LaSalle, Confederation, C.R. Judd, Levac, Llewellyn, S. Geiger, Central Manitoulin, A.B. Ellis, Espanola High, Manitoulin Secondary, C.C. McLean, Walden, Algonquin, Princess Anne, Sudbury Secondary School, and Northeastern. New boiler systems, of course, are more energy efficient and reduce heat loss. New boiler systems were installed in 3 schools in 2021. S. Geiger moved from an oil furnace to a propane boiler. Central Manitoulin moved from an oil to a propane boiler as well. And a new natural gas boiler system was installed at Lockerbie Composite School. New windows and trim also reduce heat loss. 2021, Confederation, LaSalle, CVDCS, and Gene Hansen all received new windows and trim. New ventilation systems are more efficient because they reduce heat loss. 2021, new ventilation systems were put into Gene Hansen, Lively, Coppercliff, Llewellyn Park, Manitoulin Secondary, S. Geiger, Confederation, and R.L. Beatty. In 2021-2022, new ventilation systems are planned for Lockerbie and Espanola High. New roofs are more energy efficient because they reduce heat loss. A new roof is planned in 2021-2022 at Coppercliff Public School. These facility improvements are for the 2021 or the current school year. The cumulative impacts of improvements in board facilities over many years has been significant. The Rainbow District School Board is also supporting the climate change mandate at the board level with outdoor classrooms. Outdoor classrooms were created at Alexander Public School, Central Manitoulin Public School, Churchill, Lansdowne, Minettville, Beatty, Valley View, Walden, CVDCS, and Llewellyn Park Secondary School. Here the students connect to nature and awaken their senses, uplifting their mental, emotional, and physical health. Outdoor classrooms help to solidify students' sense of place and social emotional connections to the environment by spending time outside in surroundings and enjoying the fresh air, all while engaging in learning such as scientific discovery, literacy, numeracy, and the arts. They are places of creativity and deep reflection. This concludes our presentation on the Climate Change Action Plan and our progress to date on the climate change mandate set out by the Rainbow District School Board in 2019. At this point, we would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Noble. Do we have any questions? I'm sure comments are welcome as well. Trustee Cosmerly?
That blew me away. That was an excellent presentation, and I'm so proud of our board for what we're doing. A couple of things I'd like to ask. I really hope that we have the media pick up an article about this or write an article about what we're doing. I think part of what you've talked about is engaging communities. I would love to see us move outside of our school community and engage our communities on Manitoulin and in Sudbury and possibly challenge them because the whole climate piece affects all of us, and I think we're leading here. So I'm really hoping that someone can put a bug in the ear of the media to to get the word out there, what we're doing, and to challenge all of us in our communities to take positive steps as well, because you've suggested a number of very positive steps. So that was one thing. The other piece I wanted to mention was, could we put some resources on our board website of possibly books or different types of materials? I know there were a couple, National Curiosity and a couple of other resources were identified tonight. Maybe some resources that some of us could look into or could study in terms of the whole Indigenous perspective as well, and the whole piece about climate change. So those are just suggestions, but this was awesome, and I thank you for it.
Did you want to respond briefly, Superintendent Noble? Did you?
I think that's a great idea, Trustee Cosmerly. We are happy to let the media know of all of the efforts of all the students and staff and administrators and facilities, what's going on here in Rainbow Schools and how our students are moving forward, the reduction of carbon emissions and waste. I know that Hazel has been an invaluable support for the Rainbow Environmental Education Committee. Her leadership is incredible in this area. We could talk about what might be available to put onto our website, and we would be happy to do that and connect with our communities.
No mic, Doreen.
Hazel, did you want to say something?
No mic, Doreen.
If anything, I truly appreciate Trustee Cosmerly's suggestions and would be very much willing to contribute to that media circulation of whatever it might be. And certainly the resources that we have today, we could start putting them on the website somehow, maybe under the Initial BIM1 toolkit, or create another heading under the website where there's Indigenous resources that was such as the one that was shared tonight. Miigwech.
So thank you very much. Apparently my mic was off, so I wanted to recognize Trustee Stringer, and then Trustee Clement, and then Trustee Hunda so far. Trustee Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to echo Trustee Cosmerly's comments. This has been a very exciting presentation, and greatly appreciate Susan, Hazel, Corey, Dave, Jocelyn, and Judy for all of what you've put together here to help us to understand what's happening in the board. I really appreciate the value of eco teams and the Share Go Green committees. The concept of kids teaching kids, building leadership skills and at a variety of grade levels, and I think that's really key, is so important for the sustainability of the action plan through the years. And I think that's the critical piece, that we have young students involved that know that they will be carrying on the leadership pieces through the years. Also, in terms of the honey, wow, 60 kilograms. That's awesome. Thank you, Jocelyn, for that report. It's so wonderful to see the Save the Bees work that was started by students a few years back, continuing with the MSS Hives and the Share Go Green Committee. Cleaning the trails, what a great project, and congratulations as well on the battery recycling and the water walk. Everyone, you're doing a great job, so very exciting to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Stringer. I'll call on Trustee Clement.
Thank you, everybody. That was a great presentation. Also adding on to what Judy and Margaret had to say, today, the new Minister of Environment that was just announced today was Jonathan Wilkinson. And it would be nice for them, because they're going to Scotland soon for the big eco conference. And it would be nice for them to get a letter from us, maybe, that to show that we're not waiting for them, this board is progressive and is moving forward, and you're doing all great jobs. And Jocelyn the Bees, the chair's husband, would be very proud to hear that he's a beekeeper, so he'd be loving that. Thank you very much, everybody.
Absolutely. I'll maybe send him along to learn a little bit more from our beekeepers on the island. Trustee Hunda.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a short comment. As the trustee representative on this committee for the last couple of years, I want to thank all my fellow members today for this presentation. When we discussed it, I think sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you don't realize sometimes that all the dynamic work that's getting done in some of these committees, the rest of the board may not be aware of, or the gravity, or the how grand a scale that we are tackling this. I want to thank the presenters today, all the members of our team. It is such a pleasure. I learn each and every meeting that we go to. I want to thank like Jocelyn and Michael that have been at every meeting and are so effective on sharing their message, and the passion is so clear. A lot of this can't be done without the commitment of these people. Like so many of us on the committee have been around for years, and I want to, that's a large commitment. We're all very busy. David, Corey, Susan, they're all very busy in the jobs that they have with us, but the commitment to this, they do an awful lot of work. What I find so delightful is it was mentioned that last year during COVID, how it kind of put, a damper, a slowdown. There's a lot of things that couldn't be done. And of course, there was a lot of time that students weren't in school. But I think that what's blown me away is how quickly in these first 2 months of the year that we're up and running, and the schools are also eager and just picking up where they were and carrying on. And it goes to show emphatically just how driven and how much of a commitment this is. And I think that as an adult, and the things I hear from my grandkids, and as you can see the passion in Jocelyn's presentation, they're the teachers. We're learning from them. And they're the ones that are running around the school, reaching their peers. They're the ones that are going home and teaching their parents. And we really, all of us can take a big lesson from them, and we can be forever thankful. They do understand the commitment that they are inheriting this, and that it's their responsibility to get us all back on track. I am just thrilled with this committee. I was thrilled with this presentation. I know when we talked about it, I wasn't sure it was going to be this great. And thank you all for all the work that you did to bring what we've been doing to light to all the rest of the trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Trustee Morrison.
Very brief comments, because I just want to ditto my fellow trustees' remarks about how much I appreciate how impactful this presentation was and how appreciative I am of it. And Superintendent Noble, I just want to say we clearly have the right leadership in you on this, and our committee members, because as I'm listening to one presentation after another, I'm overwhelmed actually with gratitude for the fact that we as a board had made a commitment to go green several years ago. And I think about, when we built Valley View, and that was our first venture into green construction. And I think of Sandy Aykroyd and the team that has really ensured that every year since, when we're doing renovations or new construction, which is still relatively rare for us, but that we're doing it in a green way. And I think of all the other things that the facilities department has done, like the types of ink we use in printers, the photocopying machines and the management of that, new building control systems in every school, and some of the other things that were highlighted again by you, Superintendent Noble, tonight. I thank you. I don't think people can be thanked too much, especially when they've done exceptional work. This is a commitment. And then we established the Environmental Education Committee. Time passes by, 6 or 7 years ago when we established that committee. And what I can say again is not only did you take the torch, all of your committee members, but you've run with it. And thank you. You are examples for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. We have the odd difficulty with, excuse me, with our sound system. So, once again, thank you. Keep up the good work. We look to you for leadership, and you haven't failed us. Report. Excuse me, please. Report from the in-camera committee of the whole meeting of the board. There was none, so there is no report. Under old business, previous minutes, that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, September 28th, 2021, be approved. Moved by Trustee Hunda, seconded by Trustee Morrison. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement,
In favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson, Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson's having microphone issues, but I do see she's acknowledged online through their camera that she's in favor. Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao,
In favor?
all in attendance are in favor.
The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Tenders and requests for proposals, that's nil. Reports and recommendations are nil. The 2021-2022 school year update. Director Bourget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustees, last time I provided an update to you, rapid antigen testing for unvaccinated staff had just begun in Rainbow schools. This is in keeping with the COVID-19 vaccination attestation administrative procedure that our Human Resources Department continues to implement. The vaccination data on the board website was last updated on October 15th. It will be updated once monthly as we move forward. Of those school board employees and trustees who have submitted an attestation, 93.4% of individuals have attested to being fully vaccinated. Staff who are not fully vaccinated are required to test twice a week. That includes staff with medical exemptions. This is another layer of protection to stop the potential spread of COVID-19 in our schools. As I mentioned previously, we are using the government-suggested Thrive app for verification purposes for unvaccinated staff who are taking the rapid antigen testing. Staff began using the Thrive app on October 18th, the first day of uploading results. For those who require testing, testing is to take place in an individual's residence prior to attending work. Testing should be implemented consistently on a weekly basis. We are requiring our staff to test Monday and Thursday mornings. Testing should not take place more than 48 hours before attending work, and rapid antigen screening is only for individuals who are asymptomatic. Anyone who has symptoms should seek testing at the local assessment center consistent with the provincial testing guidance. A positive result on a rapid antigen test is considered a preliminary presumptive positive and requires confirmation with a PCR test. In accordance with Rainbow District School Board's administrative procedure, COVID-19 immunization disclosure, frequent school visitors are also required to complete a COVID-19 vaccination attestation. Those who are not fully vaccinated are required to conduct regular rapid antigen testing twice a week, 3 days apart, prior to gaining access to schools and/or other locations. School administrators must determine when testing is required by school visitors. In addition, they must develop a process for the visitor to provide proof of vaccination or submit rapid test results before arriving on site. Rapid test kits contain a total of 25 individual tests, which may not be required by all visitors. And with this in mind, our Health and Safety Officer, David Digby, prepared a procedure on dividing rapid antigen test kits, which was sent to schools and administrators on October 14th. Third-party contractors who deliver services in schools and interact with students and staff must also submit a COVID-19 vaccination attestation. Our facilities department reached out to the contractors to have them provide an attestation for their employees on their corporate letterhead. Contractors have been advised that individuals who do not intend to be vaccinated, including those with a documented medical reason, will be required to complete rapid antigen testing before entering any Rainbow District School Board property or location, including the Center for Education. The contractor is responsible for making sure this occurs. Again, this is another layer of protection as we work together to ensure we minimize any disruptions to in-person learning. In regions of the province where there's a heightened risk of potential COVID-19 spread, local public health units may offer rapid antigen test screening to select schools in their communities at a frequency of twice per week over a defined period of time. Local medical officers of health make this determination if rapid antigen screening will be made available in their region based on local needs. I should let you know that no Rainbow schools have been identified for rapid antigen test screening at this time. However, just for your information, should the local medical officer of health decide to implement this additional layer of screening in our schools, parents can choose if their child will participate. Public Health sent us frequently asked questions about rapid antigen tests today. The information has also been posted at public health websites phsd.ca. Rapid antigen screening will only be used for unvaccinated, asymptomatic students and children who are not high-risk close contacts. And again, this is not implemented at this time. This is just for information should it ever occur. Symptomatic children or high-risk close contacts would continue to access PCR testing at a local assessment center or community lab, and children participating would conduct screening at home. If, in that case, a student tests positive, they would follow our local public health guidance, stay home from school, and get a PCR test as soon as possible to confirm the result. As you know, in September, Public Health Sudbury districts held clinics at our schools. All children turning 12 years old before the end of 2021 are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. That would include all children born in 2009 or earlier. On October 12th, Public Health began returning to schools to start administering second doses. First doses are also available, and students under 18 require parental consent to be vaccinated on school property, which is consistent with our practices. The school clinics will conclude on November 4th. The local directors of education and COVID leads continue to meet with representatives of Public Health Sudbury districts weekly. As you may have heard in the news, a vaccine will soon be available for 5 to 11-year-olds. Our local health unit is currently working on an outreach plan to distribute the vaccine. School boards will have an opportunity for input, and Public Health will also be launching a communications campaign to ensure parents and guardians have access to resources to make an informed decision. On September 29th, the Northern Ontario Medical Officers of Health issued a directive that affects operators of sports facilities in Northern Ontario, where indoor sports are played or practiced. Anyone aged 12 and older coaching, officiating, or volunteering at indoor organized sports must provide proof of vaccination unless a medical exemption applies. This requirement took effect on October 14th. We clarified with Public Health Sudbury districts that this directive does not apply to school facilities for school use. So a team from one school can play a team from another school in a school gymnasium, and the coaches, officials, and volunteers do not require vaccination. They would be subject to rapid antigen testing, as I previously described, for the volunteers. However, when the game is being played at a facility governed by public health direction, like a municipal hockey rink, for instance, The school team, coaches, volunteers, all must be vaccinated. We continue to monitor the situation and any impact on our extracurriculars. We've had several questions, but we have not made the decision at this time to resume community use, but we continue to monitor things. We continue to prioritize the use of school facilities for school activities with our health and safety protocols. And regarding the dome, students at LaSalle Secondary School use the dome daily for classes and after-school extracurricular activities. Flag football games are also being played in the dome, and given the weather, this is greatly appreciated by our students and staff involved. Health and safety protocols are in place to limit any potential spread of COVID-19. As part of our phased-in approach and our commitment to prioritize the use of school facilities for students in Rainbow Schools, we have just recently opened the dome to other elementary and secondary schools, and the first visit was today. As we evaluate the startup of the school year and the completion of a successful fall high school sports season, we will assess if and when it would be advisable to open the dome for community use. While school boards are not subject to proof of vaccination requirements for school use, when a school board provides its space for community use, the proof of vaccination requirements would apply. As mentioned, we have not started community use at this time. Let's take a look at the case counts in Public Health Sudbury District's jurisdiction, which aligns with our coverage area. For Thursday, September 23rd to Wednesday, September 29th, 43 new cases were reported, with 25 testing positive for a variant of concern. There were 8 active COVID outbreaks, with 5 in area schools, including 3 of ours, Adamsdale, Carl A. Nesbitt, and R.L. Beatty. At the end of the day on September 29th, there were 47 active cases in our service area, and since the beginning of the pandemic at that point, there had been a total of 2,435 local cases. Vaccination rates among 12 to 17-year-olds had surpassed the 70% mark for the first and second doses. And vaccination, as you know, is one of the many layers to protect ourselves against the spread of COVID-19. In releasing these stats, the local medical officer of health acknowledged that navigating life in a pandemic can take a toll on mental health. And as you know, we've been focused on mental health and well-being since we reopened our schools. We invite students to take a look at the My Circle of Support pocketbook, a resource from School Mental Health Ontario. It's a tool for youth to take notes on the people, places, and things that support them. It also includes numbers to call for support in an emergency. Please remember to be kind to one another. As our local medical officer of health says, we may not know the circumstances of someone's personal situation, but it is easy to show patience and gratitude. I like to remind students, staff, and families that by being kind and taking care of each other, we create an environment that gives back and helps us take care of ourselves. On September 30th, we participated in a fall readiness consultation session with Sudbury Public Health and districts. There were participants from across the health unit's coverage area, predominantly in education, and they asked us to think back and consider lessons learned from the fall of 2020. Here are just some of the questions that were up for discussion. Questions such as, what were some of the key features of the pandemic or planned response that took your area by surprise? Or what, if anything, could have been planned differently? What if some of the unexpected barriers or issues your sector or organization experienced, what were they in the local response effort? And what was done within your sector in order to address the barriers? And also, what best practices were developed in the second or third wave that we can embed in fall of 2021? Public Health also asked us to look ahead and focused on preparing the system for the fall of 2021. And here are some of the questions that were considered. Within your organization, what do you anticipate are the most critical issues with respect to pandemic management? What actions or practices should be introduced to keep outbreaks manageable or to prevent further outbreaks and keep local case rates low? And are the roles and responsibilities of partners involved in local response efforts clear? How do we work together with partners across boundaries to support local and regional responses? And I will say to you that our team of administrators, our COVID lead, Nicole Charette, our health and safety officer, David Digby, continue to do a phenomenal job. And Superintendent Fisher, being new to this role, has taken the challenge on to make sure that we do everything in our power to keep our staff and students safe. So I'd like to thank them at this time for all their hard work. On October 1st, the Ministry of Education advised us that the COVID-19 school and childcare screening tool had been updated to provide greater clarity for users. Here are some of the key points of clarification. Related to symptoms, staff, students, and children should stay home from school and childcare if they're unwell, even if they do not have symptoms that are most commonly associated with COVID-19, and monitor before returning to school. On testing, rapid antigen tests are not for use on individuals with symptoms of COVID-19 or on high-risk close contacts. These tests are for asymptomatic individuals only. And as related to vaccination and immunization status, revisions were made to the structure of the vaccination status and COVID-19 case history question to clarify that the individual could be vaccinated or had previously tested positive within the last 90 days. On personal health information and immunization status, the purpose of asking if an individual is fully vaccinated or was previously positive with COVID-19 in the past 90 days is for providing correct isolation requirements. And this is one of the tasks of public health and their case management. A reminder has been added to note that no public health information is being collected when individuals complete the screening tool daily. As related to international travel, the international travel question has been revised to provide better clarity about who can and cannot attend school after traveling. Individuals returning for international travel may not attend school or childcare for 14 days upon their return. For further clarity, while unvaccinated children under the age 12 are exempt from federal quarantine if they traveled with a fully vaccinated companion, they may not attend school or childcare for 14 days upon their return. Individuals with all other quarantine exemptions, for example, traveling for cross-border custody arrangements or medical treatment, may continue to attend school or childcare. We updated the screening tool in our reopening guide to reflect the changes and posted new copies of the screening tool at our main entrances. As we moved into Thanksgiving weekend, we issued a reminder to screen for COVID-19 as part of your morning routine. The school screening tool is on the board website, and we remind families that students who are sick must stay home and get well. Our health and safety officer provided guidelines to schools should they decide to host a seasonal or holiday meal. The guidelines cover food preparation and serving. All staff who are involved in food preparation must conduct COVID-19 pre-screening prior to preparing food. In addition, they must comply with the board's COVID-19 immunization procedure. And at least one staff member must possess a safe food handling certification. Those handling food must practice regular hand washing while preparing food, and all food surfaces must be cleaned and sanitized with a quartz-based cleaning solution. Staff must wear a medical mask at all times, and students must be served by their classroom cohort and remain within their cohort while eating. Staff who serve the food must be wearing a medical grade mask, disposable gloves, and if unable to physically distance, eye protection. Students are asked to remain in the classroom for the serving of the food, and food can be prepackaged and delivered to each classroom to reduce the risk of mixing cohorts. And masks may only be removed while eating or drinking. No sharing of food is permitted, and there are no self-serve options. Let's move to the chronology of COVID-19 cases in our school. In an effort to make this section a little briefer, I'll summarize some things that are generally apply to each case. First, the COVID-19 advisory page on the board website is updated as public health subregion districts advise us of a confirmed case. And some reminders. They do not notify us when there's no action required. When we report cases in our school only, when public health advises us that there's an impact, for example, a class may be required to self-isolate, or students on a bus route may be required to self-isolate. Here's a summary of what happens with all confirmed cases. As per the direction of public health, we dismiss the cohorts that are deemed to be close contacts. We call families and email them a letter from public health along with assessment center information to facilitate testing. We provide contact information for the affected students and staff to public health serving districts for follow-up. Schools are cleaned and disinfected. The requirement for testing and self-isolation is most often, but not always, based on immunization status for both students and staff. When this occurs, students who are fully vaccinated can be back in class while pending test results. The same applies for staff who are fully vaccinated. In younger grades where there's no vaccine available, the students must self-isolate for the duration of the time prescribed by public health. When students on school buses are dismissed, the Sudbury Students Services Consortium notifies families, emails the letter from public health, and provides a list of cohorts. All of our schools have remained open for in-person learning since the school year began. We certainly hope that trend continues. Schools will follow up with affected students to ensure learning continues during the isolation period. There are times when public health may ask students and staff to self-isolate for the entire period of time, regardless of vaccination status. And there are some scenarios where public health may direct a student or staff member to self-isolate even if they're fully vaccinated, such as the case that they're exposed as a breakthrough case, meaning the individual who is fully vaccinated is tested positive for COVID-19. The case that they were exposed has been tested positive for a variant of concern and there's some heightened concern about the transmission. Or the case where they were exposed in a setting with an uncontrolled outbreak. These are decisions of public health. Let's quickly review the cases in Rainbow Schools and the impact of COVID-19 on bus routes. On October 3rd, students from Carly Nesbitt on 2 bus runs were required to self-isolate. Also on October 3rd, there was a confirmed case of COVID-19 at Westmount Avenue Public School, and students in the grade 1 class were asked to self-isolate, and again, staff is based on immunization status. Students on 2 bus routes were also asked to self-isolate, and these routes were shared with Churchill Public School. And although there was no confirmed case at Churchill, there was an impact on the school. On October 6th, there was a confirmed case at the preschool room at Child Care Center at Sierra Judd Public School. There was no direction from public health related to the school. The same day, students from Chelmsford Valley District Composite School on 2 bus runs were required to self-isolate. There was no confirmed case of COVID-19 at the school at that time. On October 8th, leading into the Thanksgiving weekend, there were 2 confirmed cases at Churchill Public School. And by direction of public health, some students and staff in the kindergarten room and the grade 2 class were self-isolating. Later that afternoon, public health serving districts declared outbreaks at Carly Nesbitt and Adamsdale Public School were officially over, and we're happy to inform families. When outbreaks are declared over, it's important to note that individuals who are directed by public health to remain in isolation must continue to do so. The declaration of outbreak as over does not supersede specific instructions to individuals provided by public health to students, parents, guardians, staff, or essential visitors. The next day, on October 19th, there was a confirmed case at LaSalle. Staff and students in the grade 8 English program class were asked to self-isolate, and students on 2 bus runs were also affected. At the same time, public health advised us about 5 confirmed cases at Lansdowne Public School. And by direction, students in the kindergarten grade 1 FI class, the grade 1 FI class, the 1, 2, 3 FI class, the grade 5, 6 English class were asked to self-isolate, and students on 3 bus runs were also affected. It's important to note that when bus runs are impacted, they are canceled for the duration of the isolation period and resume the following day after. On October 12th, there was a confirmed case at Algonquin Road Public School, and it was students in the grade 1-2 class, and they were asked to isolate regardless of vaccination status. The following day, public health advised us to dismiss another class at Algonquin, the grade 1 class. Public health, Sudbury Districts advised Rainbow District School Board of a confirmed case at Redwood Acres. On Sunday, October 17th, students in the class, the JK, SK class in rooms 2 and 4 were asked to self-isolate. And again, the direction for staff is also based on immunization status. On October 18th, a shared bus run at Alexander Public School and a shared bus run at Princess Anne were canceled as a result of a confirmed case that was not related to either school. The students on these routes were asked to self-isolate based on immunization status, and that meant students in the senior grades who were vaccinated could return to school while awaiting test results. On October 19th, there was a confirmed case at Sudbury Secondary School, and by direction of Public Health, the requirement for staff and students in following classes were asked to be self-isolating based on their immunization status. And those classes were the Healthy Active Living class, grade 9, and a Personal Health and Fitness class. On October 21st, students in Princess Anne on one shared bus run were asked to self-isolate due to a possible exposure not related to the school. And that bus route is still canceled and will resume on October 29th. On October 22nd, elementary students from Chelmsford Valley Composite District School were on one shared bus run were also asked to self-isolate due to a possible exposure not related to the school, and that will resume on Monday, November 1st. By October 23rd, there was a confirmed case at Confederation, and by direction of Public Health, students in the grade 8 class were asked to self-isolate up to and including October 31st. Students are required to self-isolate regardless, in this case, of their vaccination status, and staff are required to do so as well, until cleared by Public Health. On October 24th, students from Chelmsford Valley District Composite School on 2 shared bus runs were required to self-isolate due to a possible exposure not related to the school. By direction of Public Health, students on the morning bus route L366 and the afternoon bus route L36 are required to self-isolate up to including November 1st, regardless of vaccination status. And these buses, routes, and classes will resume on Tuesday, November 2nd. Shifting to proof of vaccination. On October 15th, we asked staff who are attested to being fully vaccinated to upload their proof of vaccination into our employee portal. And there's been considerable work by our information services staff and human resources staff to make this possible. Dr. Penny Sutcliffe, our local medical officer of health, continues to emphasize the importance of the vaccine. Locally, from October 7th to 13th, 521 people were identified as high-risk close contacts of a confirmed case, which represents an average of 9.6 high-risk close contacts per local case. And she advised of the following. With the weather getting warmer, more people spending time indoors, and capacity limits being increased in certain settings, we are likely to see more transmission. Getting vaccinated helps curb the spread and reduce the risk of severe illness if infected. Please consider what actions you can take to help reduce the chances of transmission. That's a quote from Dr. Sutcliffe. So let's quickly pick up where we left off last time and look at a little bit more data. The case counts in our area have been increasing. From Thursday, September 30th to October 6th, 41 new cases were reported, with 31 testing positive for a variant of concern. There were 9 active COVID outbreaks, 4 within schools in our area, 2 of them being ours, Adamsdale and Carl Nesbitt. At the end of the day on October 6th, there were 50 active cases in our service area. And since the beginning of the pandemic, at that point, there were 2,476 local cases. Thankfully, the vaccination rate among 12 to 70-year-olds continues to increase each week. From Thursday, October 7th to Wednesday, October 13th, 54 new cases were reported, with 39 testing positive for variants of concern. There were 8 active COVID-19 outbreaks, including 2 schools, Adamsdale and Carl Nesbitt. And at the end of the day of October 13th, there were 75 active cases in our service area. According to Public Health, Sudbury districts, based on data from the last 14 days in the reporting period, the risk of contacting COVID-19 for unvaccinated residents of Sudbury districts was 4.3 times higher than the risk for fully vaccinated residents. And vaccination rates among 12 to 17-year-olds remain steady. You will notice there's a slight increase in percentages, but that's because as of October 14th, the population figures used for these calculations have been updated to reflect counts recently made available by Statistics Canada. The new 2020 population estimates are slightly higher than those previously used. From Thursday, October 14th to Wednesday, October 20th, 83 new cases were reported with 60 testing positive for a variant. There were 7 active COVID-19 outbreaks, and at the end of the day, there were 96 active cases in our service area. The vaccination rate among 12 to 17-year-olds continued to increase, with dose 1 nearing the 80% mark. And Friday, October 22nd, the Ontario government, in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, released a plan to safely reopen Ontario and manage COVID-19 for the long term, which outlines the province's gradual approach to lifting remaining public health and workplace safety measures by March 2022. Ontario has decided to slowly and incrementally lift all remaining public health and workplace safety measures, including the provincial requirement for proof of vaccination and wearing face coverings in indoor settings over the next 6 months. To manage COVID-19 over the long term, local and regional responses by health units will be deployed based on local context and conditions. Public health measures that may be applied locally could include reintroducing capacity limits or physical distancing, reducing gathering limits, and adding settings where proof of vaccination is still required, among others. Public health measures would be implemented provincially in exceptional circumstances, such as when the province's health system capacity is at risk for being overwhelmed, or if a new variant is identified in the province. Shifting to Halloween. With direction from Public Health, Sudbury District's Rainbow District School Board has developed guidelines for schools to wish to have Halloween-related activities. The prevention measures will limit the spread of COVID-19 while giving students an opportunity to participate in a much-anticipated annual tradition with a focus on equity and inclusion, which I'll address in a moment. The health and safety of our students, staff, parents, guardians, and the public remains our priority. Parents and guardians are not permitted to send treats to their child's school for the purpose of distribution. The following guidelines shall apply to all schools should the school decide to distribute their own Halloween treats. They must consider distributing non-food items, only prepackaged store-bought items to students and/or staff, minimize the handling of prepackaged items by providing tongs or long spoons or other similar utensils to handle things. Staff are asked to hand out other items while maintaining physical distance. Perhaps setting up a table with pre-bagged items is preferred. Practicing hand hygiene prior to handling prepackaged items, and ensuring students and staff continue to practice hand hygiene before and after eating. Homemade items are not permitted for students or staff. Schools are encouraged to host traditional celebrations virtually with other classes, such as virtual parades, but remember that cohorts must remain together at all times. As you know, we don't have school assemblies at this point. Also encouraging, as much as possible, to move activities outside when appropriate. Reminders that a costume mask is not a substitute for a face covering, and it should not be worn over a face covering as it will make it difficult to breathe, and masking must be maintained. Staff must continue to follow all protocols related to personal protective equipment, including masking and wearing face shields or goggles when a distance of 2 meters cannot be maintained. As we approach Halloween, it's important to think about how we can make this day, which is a fun day for many students, align with our core values as a board and a school. We need to make sure our values, but particularly the character traits focused on inclusion, respect, and responsibility are top of mind. Let me take this opportunity to talk about the direction we provide to schools. First of all, participation in Halloween activities by students and staff is completely voluntary. Participation or non-participation should not be used as a basis for exclusion. Making these activities voluntary allows for full inclusion of those who wish to participate, as well as for those who don't. There is no preferred option. There is simply the choice to do whatever one is most comfortable with. The spirit of equity and inclusion also engenders respect for the decision of those who choose not to participate in Halloween activities. Regardless of whether students or staff choose to participate in these events or not, all members of the school community are expected to be respectful of others, themselves, and the school environment. Additionally, as always, all members of the school community are expected to demonstrate responsibility and accountability for their actions. We remind students of our safety rules, all of which also apply to staff. So we ask that students do not wear costumes that include masks, as those can obscure vision, muffle speech, or prevent the wearer from being identified. All students must continue to wear masks as part of our COVID-19 protocols, and I'm talking about the medical masks or the cloth masks. These masks must not be covered by Halloween masks. We also ask that people do not wear costumes with accessories or props which may promote images of gratuitous violence or cause distraction or disruption to the learning environment. We remind students to choose their costumes with care, ensuring that they do not offend others, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And we provide some questions to consider, and we have adapted these from other sources. Questions such as, is my costume supposed to be funny? Is the humor based on making fun of real people, human traits, or cultures? Does my costume represent a culture that is not my own? Does my costume reduce cultural differences to jokes or stereotypes? Does my costume include the words traditional, ethnic, cultural, authentic, or tribal? Does my costume perpetuate stereotypes, misinformation, or historical and cultural inaccuracies? And this information was adapted by Rainbow Schools from the Peel District School Board, as well as the Hampshire Halloween Checklist. All with the intent of having people reflect to make sure that their costumes are fun, appropriate, and are not offensive to anyone. Public Health Sudbury Districts is reminding everyone to take steps to celebrate Halloween in a COVID-safe way in the community, and simple actions can help limit that spread. And again, quoting from Dr. Sutcliffe, as Halloween approaches, get creative and consider the ways you can make your celebration safer. Complete your COVID-19 vaccination series by getting 2 doses and a third if you're eligible. Being fully vaccinated against COVID-19 is an important step in providing not only yourself, but, according to Dr. Sutcliffe, the little ghosts and goblins who cannot yet get vaccinated as well. Remember to wear a mask, keep a distance, keep gathering small, celebrate outdoors, or go virtual, especially if individuals are unvaccinated or if their vaccination status is unknown. She adds, we encourage everyone to find ways to limit the spread of the virus and still have a fun, safe, and happy Halloween. Public Health offered COVID-safe Halloween tips that I would like to quickly share. While it's safest to stay home, if you choose to go door to door or hand out treats at home, take steps to prevent the spread. Do not trick or treat or hand out treats if you're sick. Stay home if you have symptoms, even if they're mild. Trick or treat and hand out treats outside. Wear a well-fitting mask, non-medical mask for the students when going door to door and handing out candy. Find creative ways to build the well-fitting mask into your costume. Remember, a costume mask does not substitute for the well-fitting mask. In addition, don't congregate or linger at doorsteps. Stand 2 meters apart if you must wait. Steer near the door when handing out candy so ghosts and goblins can avoid high-touch surfaces like door handles and doorbells. Keep interactions brief. Do not leave treats in a bucket or bowl for everyone to grab. Consider using tongs or long spoons or tools to hand out treats, or set up a table with pre-bagged treats to keep a distance. Wash your hands thoroughly and use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. And respect people by staying away from homes if the lights are out. And finally, with regard to making the transition, of course our work in education continues amidst the backdrop of the global pandemic. Instead of hosting large gatherings like our annual transition evening, we are opting for virtual events like we did last year. Parents and guardians and students in grades 7 and 8 are invited to tune in to a special presentation of Making the Transition, Finding Your Way from Grade 8 to Grade 9 on Monday, November 15th at 8 p.m. on Eastlink Community TV Channel 10. The presentation will explore the changes, choices, and challenges students face as they enter high school. It will also air on Monday, November 22nd and Monday, November 29th, also at 8 p.m. Transitioning from elementary to secondary is an important milestone in a young person's life. And with this presentation, we hope to provide students with the information to make informed choices that will help shape their future. A number of topics will be discussed, including how to read timetables, how to choose courses, how to ease into a new school environment, what resources are available, and what skills students need to be successful. The presentation can be accessed online. To learn more, visit rainbowschools.ca, click on Programs, and then click on Secondary Education. In addition to the presentation, viewers on Eastlink will meet staff from various programs, such as the Specialist High Skilled Major, the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, Dual Credits, Cooperative Education, Arts Education, Indigenous Education, French Immersion, 21st Century Learning, and Special Education. I invite students and parents and guardians to please mark their calendars. It's important for students to take the time to explore all options, tune in to discover the many exciting opportunities that await students in grade 9 in Rainbow schools. Our secondary school information nights will also be virtual. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Director Bourget. Give a minute for everybody to show up on screen so I can see if there are any hands. Thank you very much again. New business. Levying education taxes. I call on Superintendent Bazinet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Every year you see this motion that comes forward. It's levying the education taxes for the upcoming calendar year. It's an obligation that we have under the Ministry of Education. Also, this motion is then shared with the Ministry of Finance, as the Ministry of Finance has the responsibility of levying the education taxes for the unorganized townships. The actual motion is within your package, and essentially, as previously stated, this is something that comes to the board on an annual basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion that the levying education taxes for 2022 bylaw as attached be deemed to have been read 3 times and approved. Moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Hunda. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson. Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
We see Trustee Gibson is visually voted in favor. Thank you, Trustee Gibson and Trustee Hunda. Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean.
In favor.
Trustee Stringer.
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
All in favor.
Motion is carried. Request for leave of absence. Motion that Trustee Linda Dubosky be granted a leave of absence from the October 26, 2021 board meeting. Moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Stringer. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson. Voting in favor. Thank you. Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean.
In favor.
Trustee Stringer.
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
Madam Chair, all in favor.
Motion is carried. Director's remarks.
I'll be
You
brief
did
tonight.
such a wonderful job at the last. We're going to get you to tell us more.
Well, I will be brief. I know my update was lengthy but necessary, so I will be brief. But I do want to add that further to the environmental education presentation, I personally would also like to acknowledge our staff and students for their leadership and hard work in undertaking environmental issues and initiatives that will have a positive impact and effect on climate change. In addition to the team we heard from tonight, there are many environmental champions in Rainbow Schools who are dedicated to reducing our carbon footprint and being better keepers of the land. This generation is having a tremendous impact on those who will follow in their footsteps, and that bodes well for our future. Last month, I expressed my gratitude for our facilities staff who work tirelessly to make our schools clean, safe, and welcoming places to learn. All of our staff do great work each day. This month, I'd like to highlight our school office staff. As you know, the student information system that we used for many years was bought out and discontinued by the purchasing company. As a result, we have had to shift to a new system. It's called Aspen. And to say that the conversion has been a challenge would be quite an understatement. Our school office staff have taken on this challenge and continue to work incredibly hard to move forward as the vendor addresses ongoing issues with their programming. Change on this scale takes time and patience, and I'd say that without the dedication, talent, tenacity, and resilience of our school office staff, we would not be operating at our current level. The system will improve as we move forward, but in the meantime, I hope we can all take a moment to acknowledge the unsung heroes in our school offices and thank them for their work they do each and every day, because they've been truly exceptional. And finally, as you know, and for those listening, the trustees are all joining in quiet applause online because they do recognize how amazing our school office staff is. So thank you to everyone. And as you know, we prioritize safety, mental health, wellness, and belonging, which provide a strong foundation for learning as we reopened our schools for in-person learning. Staff and students continue to express their appreciation for the opportunities to connect and participate safely in activities that they love and are meaningful to them. Activities that provide a more fulsome school experience. And finally, I'd like to remind everyone that November 1st to 7th is Treaty Recognition Week. It's an opportune time to engage all students in dynamic learning opportunities about Indigenous education and our history. This work is important as we build understanding and turn our commitment to truth and reconciliation into action. Schools will receive resources to increase awareness of treaties and treaty relationships. Finally, I'd like to thank all of our staff for continuing to be difference makers in the lives of our students. And that ends my remarks for today. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Director Bourget. OBSPA Director, Trustee Clement, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Not very much, not just since the last meeting, but we are having our Northern Regional meeting November the 6th, Saturday morning. And that's about it, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Trustee Cosmerly.
Sorry, I would just like to add to the November 6th piece. Project Compass will be doing a consultation at the Northern Regional meeting, which will be held on November 6th. There are documents, consultation documents, that have been sent to the Northern Council chairs. They should have been sent out on October 22nd, and the chairs in turn will be sending these consultation documents to all of the trustees so that we have a chance to take a look at them. And this is all with respect to Project Compass and the work that it is doing at revamping some of the pieces within OBSPA governance. So that will be round one. All trustees are invited to attend the November 6th meeting and share their comments further to the consultation documents that we'll be receiving. Trustees who are unable to attend the November 6th meeting or want an opportunity to share even more information with OBSPA will have a second opportunity the first 2 weeks of December. There will be Zoom focus group meetings on each of the 4 topics that are under consultation, those topics being governance, model and structure, mission, vision and values, priority setting process, policies and procedures. So I just wanted people to be aware of that. We all received an email from OBSPA on October the 8th, just giving us a heads up that these meetings were coming. So hopefully people will have an opportunity or will take the opportunity to share their comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Cosmerly. Student Trustee Michael, did you have anything you would like to report or share?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I guess I could talk a little bit about November 4th to 7th, where I'll be heading over to Toronto to attend the OSTECO annual FGM meeting. Super excited for that. I'm going to have a little presentation there about my working group, about the Public Board Council Cabinet. I'm pretty excited. As for the Student Senate, we had our check-in meetings. I don't know if you guys have seen our Instagram, but it's just RDSB Student Senate. But there we got our student spotlight up today, where basically we showcased all our senators, what school they're from, and their position. And then we also did posts for Waste Reduction Week, where we got to share some really incredible students participating on our Instagram. And, it's just a great way to keep students informed about what's going on with the Senate and also Rainbow District School Board.
Thank you very much, Michael. Much appreciated. Trustees' remarks and questions? Moving on. Chairperson's remarks. So, I really didn't write up very much this evening, but I did want to share with you something that I saw on the internet, and I can't attribute who wrote it, but it just struck me as something that I would want to share, and I want to share under Chair's remarks. And here's what it said. It said, "We're all tired of hearing about COVID. But it's like brushing our teeth. It doesn't matter how often we brush our teeth. We brushed our teeth yesterday. We brushed our teeth today. And yet, guess what? We need to brush our teeth tomorrow. So, I urge everyone out there, no matter how tired we are, wear a mask and keep your distance. We did it yesterday. We're doing it today. And we all need to do it tomorrow." And that pretty well says it all. Except for the quote for the month, who comes from a man named George Couros, Couros. He's a leading keynote speaker in innovative leadership, teaching, and learning. And he said, "We need to make the positive so loud that the negative becomes impossible to hear." Thank you very much. Take a look at information and proposals. We have 2 reports from officials and staff, the audit committee minutes and the SEAC minutes. Under non-staff communications, I would bring your attention out to the OBSPA 2021-2022 central bargaining invoice dated September 1st, which is an invoice we'll be paying. And we also included in the backup the October 14th letters that we sent, 2 different letters. So, Trustee Morrison.
Just a very brief comment, Madam Chair, about the invoice from OBSPA. That's the cost. That has nothing to do with our local bargaining. That's Rainbow's cost to the central bargaining costs.
Yes.
So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. OBSPA, as we know, is our delegated negotiator at the provincial level. And so that there are negotiating related costs, and that is Rainbow's share of those costs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification. That's good. Thank you. So future meetings are there. I think Heather did a fabulous job on future meetings. Hopefully they're all great. Now I ask that we now adjourn, moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. Have a great evening.